Good evening, and welcome to another edition of Fort Wayne Up Close. I done dusted the lint off of my jacket. I know it's been a while, but I'm back. And it took some special guests to bring me back out of retirement. I wasn't in retirement. They just put me on the shelf for a little bit. But I have two superstars that are in here today that are all about the people, that are going to help the people, get you guys all kind of knowledge and information. And to my immediate right, we have Miss Bree Andrews, an advocate for the people. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
All righty. And to her right, we have Pastor Melissa Fisher, the associate pastor of Aldergate Methodist Church.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me tonight, and it's so good to see you.
All right, likewise. We go back a long way. We won't tell people our age.
No, let's not age us.
But like I said, you guys have your hand in a lot of different things that's going on in Fort Wayne. First off, for people that might not know you, Bree, tell us a little bit about yourself and what all you have going on.
Yeah, so my name is Bree. I have recently decided to make my title the People's Advocate. People are always asking me the different things that I do, and I just feel like that is the one that encapsulates it all of it together. Because I'm like, okay, I do a girls empowerment nonprofit where I work with girls, teaching them their voice, teaching them how to empower themselves and be encouraged and encourage other girls and know their worth and value. And I do that at Bring It, Push It, Own It. And I also do that at ACJC through Bring It, Push It, Own It. I'm also a grief advocate and grief speaker for Aaron's House for Grieving Children's Identity Program, where we go to different centers that can't get to Aaron's House and work with inner city youth, and especially youth on the southeast side, so that they can learn how to process their grief. People are always experiencing loss, especially kids, and they're always just having to not really know how to navigate through that. So I help them walk through that process. Also, a political advocate, president of a political caucus here in town. So locally, we work with Allen County young Dems and continue to push them and teach them about politics, educate them on politics, have different speakers come in and teach them so that they are able to be empowered to run for office earlier. There's no sense in waiting until we are 40, 45, 50 to run for office. We can run for office now. And so it's my goal to learn and educate myself so that pretty soon, within the next 1 to 2 years, I run for office too. I also want to start my own nonprofit, and I've got that in the works as well. And anything else that I can touch, I'm out here wanting to help educate the youth, educate the people, teach them about the policies going on, teach them about the different events so that they can be a part of it. Because all it is just rallying support, rallying people to have the knowledge on how to fight back against the oppression, against situations, against people and people marginalizing groups and putting them in different type of issues like social justice issues. Yeah.
Okay. So Melissa, now look, I told you guys she had a laundry list, and we appreciate a young superstar in the making. So now we've got the elder statesman over here.
Yes.
So for those that don't know you, and again, Melissa, I know you've been out there fighting different causes and had different things going on in the community. Tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Yes, sir. So I am an ordained United Methodist pastor, was the lead pastor over at Faith United Methodist Church for 6 years, and am now the associate pastor out at Aldersgate off Getz Road. Sit on the City Link board and co-own New Wave Wellness with Erica Pearson. And we have about 300 clients across the state and about 30 to 40 contractors. And then we contract with Medicaid. So we have Medicaid FSSA. So we are a Medicaid waiver provider for behavior, music, and recreational therapy as well. So, just a lot, my faith drives my passion for justice. The Bible says the last shall be first. The least of these are the ones that we should, help. My little lambs, my sheep, over and over and over, we can look at scripture, and the fact that I am a pastor and that leads my justice, that leads my political involvement. I ran for office for county council in 2020. I may or may not run for office in the future. But again, I will support people from a justice perspective and for people being educated and knowing their rights and understanding the law and understanding that the people that are in our legislature in the state, in our city, local politics matter, state politics matter, and federal politics matter because they directly impact our lives.
All right, beautiful. Now, you talked about making sure everybody has the information that they need and understands the importance of voting and politics. Bree, I had the pleasure of getting something sent to me via a link or something that you did. You want to talk about that? But I know it's, talking about the importance and trying to...
Yeah, sure. So I created a education video to teach young people about politics, teach young people about the election and the differences between local and presidential elections. The biggest miss with why young people don't vote is lack of education and feeling like their voice isn't going to be heard. So in that video, I discussed, really articulated the importance of voting, the education background behind it. We talked about some of the different roadblocks that get in the way of why people think their voices aren't heard. And yeah, I just try to express that, and it got utilized with some different nonpartisan groups, played in the high schools, and I'm hoping to keep pushing it every year so that young people do get out and vote and do not let anything stop them.
Okay, because I looked at it. It reminded me of one of the most Schoolhouse Rock videos, but very thorough.
Try to keep it fun, try to make it light, try
there
to keep
you
it
go.
engaging.
And you said nonpartisan, but it's something for youth. I mean, you didn't steer anybody anyway, but for youth. And I'm assuming that's at 18 to 34-year-old range. Okay, but yeah, I thought it was very, very well done.
Thank you.
And we need more stuff like that. Now, what brought you two together?
The Black Lives Matter protests, I want to say, is basically, but I don't know that we actually connected then.
No, yeah, I want to say
Sarah Collins Rudolph. So that's when we first, I want to say we had met a couple times before that. Panther, but so when I was basically 2023 of September of 2023. So last year we brought Sarah Collins Rudolph, the sole survivor of the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing. Okay. So she was actually in the bathroom when her sister, her name's Sarah. Her sister was Addie Collins. Addie Collins was in the bathroom by the window with the other 3 little girls that died as well. Sarah was at the sink, and that was why she did not die. But from the blast, she was blinded and then rushed to a white hospital, which is crazy because no black kids were rushed to white hospitals at that time, but they rushed her to a white hospital. They saved one of her eyes. She was in the hospital 4 months. Alabama has yet to give her restitution, has yet to make any proclamations, has yet to do anything some people have attempted to lobby because it was a terrorist attack, and there's other terrorist attacks where people have gotten restitution. And I will say one thing I'm very proud of. Our Mayor Henry, made a proclamation and came and gave her his actual city pin off of his suit jacket and put it on her. But there was, and people would ask us, well, why does that matter in Fort Wayne? Why does it matter here? And the answer is because it's history. And we can do something to make it known, to make it its history. It's part of it, so it doesn't happen again.
And I am a lieutenant officer of the original Black Panther Party at Fort Wayne, and we were there providing security for that event. And so while we were doing that, we just ended up in conversation and realized there's a lot of things that needed to be done and a lot of things that we had both been passionate about. So we wanted to join forces in some of these different capacities. And plus, I look at her as one of my mentors that is, taking me under her wing and teaching me all there is to know about politics and social justice advocacy.
Okay. Now, you just touched on something that I can't just let go. But before I do, I love everything that you said, because you guys are not just, you hit me with the current events and politics and things that are happening today, but you also are touching about history. Mm-hmm. And so you guys are spreading knowledge. You're covering all the bases. And that's beautiful because, like you said, they have it in Birmingham, but, it does affects us here in Fort Wayne. And that is a lot of people's mentality. Things happen. It's not here. That doesn't affect me. It was long ago or it's too far away, but there always is that connection. But mm-hmm. You said the original Black Panther Party. You're a member. What does that partake of? There's people that aren't aware that Fort Wayne has a Black Panther Party. What kind of things do you guys do?
So our headquarters is out of Virginia, and we are the Fort Wayne chapter here locally. And so we have specific events that we do that is party-wide for all of the local or all of the different parties and chapters. Here we have our Rally Against Women's Violence event, which we do in January at the top of the year. That is where we bring different women survivors of violence and come and tell their story, which is something that is important to me, is my passion project. Because of my background with childhood physical abuse, I champion that event, and we're able to allow the women to speak, share their story, honor them. We give them roses, certificates, and just a platform to really share their story. And that in itself helps the other women in the audience that are currently going through that, or maybe they're trying to get on the side of being a survivor, but they're still in victim mindset, or they're still battling and struggling, and they are able to hear a story of how someone came on the other side, and that is inspirational. So we have that. We also have where we take mothers that have lost children due to gun violence. We take them on a Mother's Day brunch. We pay for their lunch. We give them flowers and cards, and we just honor them for their being a mother. We don't want them to ever feel like the significance of being a mother is ever lost or changed just because you've lost your child. You're still a mother. You still deserve to be honored, and this is still your holiday. So we take that time for them. We also have Kwanzaa on a Panther, where during Kwanzaa after Christmas, we take a few kids on a shopping spree on us, especially. We target the ones that have lost parents due to violence or due to for being killed, and we want to honor them, and we want to honor their memory by pouring into their child. So we take them on shopping sprees and get them gifts and presents and grocery shopping, whatever it is that they decide that they need and want. And then we also have there's so many. We also do the back to school drive, where we do book bags, school supplies. Actually, this year we did it through Aldersgate. We were able to partner with them.
Yeah, we collaborated.
And that way we had a space to just be able to, we provide all the school supplies, we bundle it up, we provide the book bags, and we just give out as many as we possibly can to the community. And then we also have our winter clothing drive, where we do winter coats, hats, gloves, all different winter gear, and we also do turkeys. We give away all of the winter clothing to kids, and we give away free turkeys to families.
Okay, wow. I mean, hey, Huey Newton and Bobby Seals will be proud of you all.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. Where does your funding come from for that?
Ourselves, our pockets, from our own dues. We don't receive any government funding. That's a part of the bylaws, is to not take money from the state and from the government. So we have our own membership dues that we pay into a pot each month. And then we also will reach out to the community, any community sponsors, any community donors. That's kind of my thing, is fundraising, reaching out to people and seeing, who is willing to sponsor a child for this specific event, or who is willing to donate towards this event, so that we can get supplies to just be able to expand our reach.
Okay.
So yeah, the community.
And what about like targeted recipients of all the great things that you do? How do you get word out? How does somebody benefit from that?
Typically, social media is how we advertise the events and advertise like the flyer, and then we go to specific places like Victims Assistance or YWCA or different places to be able to talk to women, I tell my story, and be able to get them wanting to be on a platform to be able to share their story. I also just talk about it in the community. I'm in spaces every day where I may be working with kids. With Aaron's House, I'm meeting kids through that, and I'm seeing the kids that have experienced loss. I'm hearing the kids that lost a father, that lost a mother, and I get their information through the center, and then I'm able to reach back out to whoever their family caregiver is, and be able to pull them into being able to do that shopping spree, or just being out talking to women at different women's empowerment events and hearing people's story. And then I hear what they say, and I'm like, hey, I need something like this for my event, and then I give them a platform to share it. So it's just really just community talking, and that's how I get my people.
Okay, awesome. And I got something. I'm gonna ask you a question, but I'm gonna want you to chime in, because you mentioned Black Panthers. And I can know, hey, somebody heard Black Panther, instant, people might respond. Do you guys have anybody that kind of like gives pause? If you say, I want to help you with the Black Panther, do they kind of shy away from you. And again, you said you collaborated at Aldersgate Church. How did that go over? You said I'm bringing in the Black Panthers. We keep it 100 around here. So
yeah. He said, how did that go? Mm-hmm. So it was amazing, actually. We had over 800 people that came out to the back to school bash the first weekend of August. The mayor actually opened the event up with a prayer. We had the Black Panthers. We had Tech Adventures Tech Ventures. Was it Tech Ventures or Tech Adventures? Dudes with the robots. Mm-hmm. We had
toy.
Oh yeah, we had the toy store. I mean, we had resources. We had people, vendors, people selling stuff, people getting registered. We passed out over 500 chicken dinners that day, and so pretty much it was just nonprofit. And yeah, I mean, I want to say it was good to have because people were able to ask questions, or if there was one group that was signing up voters and they were registered, and I want to say the sign in front of them said something like, vote like you're not white, vote like you're black, vote like you're LGBTQ, vote like your rights are not, or are being, you know what I mean, are being depends on it. Well, and I talked to the ladies afterward. Now, mind you, these ladies were white ladies, whatever, but they had so many people come up to them and say, what do you mean by this? Which to me shows such a distinct cultural difference and understanding about what is going on in our world. Just to have people ask the question, what do you mean by this when the thing says vote like you're not this? And me and Bree have had this conversation many times this week. I believe that white male heterosexuals are the only demographic of human beings in this country that are not going to be under attack.
Yeah, that's pretty much the opinion around the country. I mean, and that demographic feels under attack. They'll tell you they are under attack
because of how people are responding.
They feel, yeah, right, and because of the response. And I guess my point is, I'm not out at Aldersgate via happenstance. They are intentionally wanting to become multicultural. We're launching a multicultural service in January. One of our musicians is the musician in Fort Wayne Funk Orchestra. Like, we will have a multicultural service that will be a different type of service than, and we're coming together and we're building relationships. I mean, Thursday nights we have this friends and family, and we have a meal. I mean, the Dazzling Diamonds that are dancers in the community, they were out dancing at the Back to School Bash. Well, they came last night and they'll be dancing in our Christmas Eve program. I mean, we have a huge Christmas Eve program we're working on.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's all about relationship building. I do know what you mean about the backlash that comes with being a Black Panther in communities where they don't understand, or they look back in history and they have this misinterpretation of what the Black Panthers did or what the Black Panthers represented. And that has been, there has been some education that we've had to advocate for. We've had to go to events. We've had to speak. We even spoke at that event, education-wise, telling about the history and what it is that we do and what it is that we represent. And there is a divide because there's certain Panthers that went one way and there's certain Panthers that went another. And we followed the side that was focused on providing for people and not necessarily pushing the violence. We do have gun training. We do have physical training where we're prepared to fight back. We're prepared to provide security and be a safe space. But our main thing is providing and giving back to our people. And so with that being said, it's important that people understand the truth behind, the layers of being a Panther. And I've had people say to me, when I've got into politics, I've had someone say to me, you can do your modeling thing, but you being a Black Panther is not going to work with you running, wanting to be in politics. I tell you with certainty that I refuse to give up my position as a Black Panther. I am working in politics. I will run for office, and it will not stop me because so many people across the aisle, so many allies, they are such allies that they respect it even more. They have continued to book us as security. They've continued to book us as presenters and educators at their events. We're going to Black events. We're going to white events. It's all on all sides. And, And then it's still a political
It's about education.
background as well. So we're in politics spaces as well, giving that education. We did election defenders, getting people to vote. So we find ways to bridge that gap and to expand our reach, and it's going to happen.
Got you. I love the determination. And the reason, like I said, I just bring it up because I know where we live at.
Oh, yeah.
And there's some people you haven't got to the table. They just see that. And there's, the apprehension is there. But you're right.
And I'm sure there's apprehension of congregants in our congregation. I'm sure there's apprehension just in, different areas. But the United Methodist Church as a whole is being extremely intentional on becoming a new looking church. If you look at the United Methodist Church currently, it's for the most part white. And there's a reason for that, because it came out of, Richard Allen, the AME church. He came from the top of the balcony, came down and said, I refuse to sit at the top of the balcony, and went down, made his speech, left, and that's how the AME church was started. So the United Methodist Church has a lot of reconciliation to do. We have a lot of work to do, and know that. And right now we have a new bishop. She is the head of the bishops in the entire country. She's a Black female, and she's amazing. So, and if anybody wants to meet her, she'll be at St. Joe United Methodist Church on December 5th. I think they have a worship service that night at 6:00. So if anybody wants to meet Bishop Malone, I'm going to LaGrange that day to meet her. But anyways.
Online, it's about being present.
Yes.
The more present you are, and the more that we're showing what we do, the more we're going to be able to pull people onto our side as allies and as understanders. And then they're going to continue to advocate for us in spaces that we're not even in yet.
Yeah.
We have to, it's relationship building, and it's openness. And it's also people that look like me. We have to speak up to our people. We have to speak up. Now I'm hearing, oh, well, white privilege isn't a thing. Oh, yeah, what? It just goes away now because our president says it's not a thing? No, it is still a very real thing. And it's something that if people that look like me don't stand up and speak about, it'll never change.
Exactly right. We need more people to talk like you. You're exactly right. Because, I sit right here behind this microphone. We talk about bias. If you bring up unconscious bias and you say it in a room full of Caucasians, you'll see people tense up. The reality is we all have bias.
Yes.
And everybody does. And that's all we're talking about is not letting differences hold you back, having that discussion. So I love that you say that. So I got you guys off and got to dig down a little bit deeper. But I know I look at this and we talk health and housing, and I don't think we touched on health and housing. So now let's reel it back in a little bit. The United Women in Faith and the Prosperity event you guys got coming up 11/18. Give us all the details. What is that about? How could, where people need to go?
So United Women of Faith are basically the United Methodist women for the state of Indiana. So all the women advocates for social justice and advocates in the United Methodist Church is the United Women of Faith. So I am a United person of United Women of Faith because I am an ordained pastor. The head social coordinator, Lori Chambers, for that, the United Methodist Church out of Indianapolis, basically came to me and said, hey, we want to do this town hall. We're working with Prosperity in Indiana on health and housing. How do we make this happen? I need a couple people, who would be passionate about this to help galvanize, coordinate, put this together, and get this information out. And so that's how I called Bree and then Sheila Curry-Campbell and said, hey, are you guys interested in being a part of helping us coordinate this through the United Women of Faith and Prosperity Indiana?
It was really eye-opening to me just to have the education background behind what it was that we were doing. So a part of the significance of health and housing is a very broad subject. Obviously, there's numerous factors in that, but the sector that we're focusing on for this event is policy advocacy for rent escrow policy. So one of the statistics that we discussed was that Indiana is one of 6 states in the U.S. that does not have an active rent escrow policy. So with this event, we want to utilize it as a town hall meeting to bring the community together to advocate for this policy being implemented. And one of the major reasons why it's not being implemented is because of the people in the seat, the people in position that make those decisions are blocking it. So basically, this is a way to apply pressure to be able to have access to them and make them understand why we need it, and then have the community be able to rally and speak up, advocating for their own voice as to why we need it. So tell us what rent escrow is.
Bing, bing, bing. There we go.
So, I mean, that's basically the gist of this housing. I mean, is the person who is the head of the Senate is Senator Liz Brown. Senator Liz Brown is one of our senators in Allen County, in one of the districts in Allen County. We have about 4 or 5 senators that are in, don't quote me, are in Allen County. She's one of them. She sits at the head of the Judiciary Committee at the state. She makes the determination as to whether or not the legislation gets heard, because there's a ton of legislation that is getting heard, but she makes that decision. So we have confirmation from her that she will be present in the room and hearing everything else that everybody else is hearing as well. Rent escrow policy is basically, the gist of it is putting protections in between the landlord and the tenant. And the way it looks right now is they're trying to use the mechanism of the courts and utilize the courts as that middle person. So hypothetically, if you're Bree's landlord and she's the tenant, she calls you and says, my heat's been off for a week, and whatever, I'm don't
just
get
getting excuses
as
to why it's not being done.
Yep, and you don't fix it for 3 weeks, but yet now you expect her to pay those 3 weeks instead, or you're going to evict her. Well, that middleman, which would be the court, will basically make the determination, hey, yes, the landlord did what they needed to do. No, they didn't. Yes, we can hold money. Yes, they can evict. No, whatever. And
they'll be able to pay the court, and they'll hold the money
if there's a discrepancy. So that's basically what that is. And so then we also have potentially, we haven't got confirmation, but Senator Sue Glick, she's a senator up in LaGrange County. And some people from LaGrange are actually coming down for the town hall as well. And they've asked her to come. And so she actually sits on the Judiciary Committee, the Senate Judiciary Committee. So if Senator Brown says, yes, I'm going to send it, let's have the committee hear it, she would be somebody that would hear it when it came to committee. Then they would say yes, and then it would go to the Senate, and then it would go to the House. So we're not even close to it being a bill yet unless the legislation gets passed through. Gotcha. So
the importance of this event, why we're trying to pull the community into it, is because how often are we're complaining about something or saying that something needs done, but we don't know who to go to. We don't know who to talk about it with. We don't know who to advocate to. We don't even know who's in position to make the decision to even, talk about it with them. So this is an opportunity for the community to not only be able to receive the education background surrounding this policy, but also there's going to be constituent time where they can actually speak to the senators. They can, talk to them about how they feel about this. And, they're going to be there. You have accessibility to them. So why not take advantage of an opportunity to actually connect and start putting out there what it is that we need to be fighting for.
Okay, gotcha. How many other states have rent escrow policies?
44.
Because there's only 6.
One of six that does not.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So we are one of 6 states that does not have a rent escrow policy or something similar to it. So, I mean, the reason I said the because at one point they were saying yes, courts. I mean, either way, the bottom line is it's and they'll present more Monday. We'll know more Monday. We'll hear more Monday, because the people from Prosperity, Indiana, we're going to hear the same thing, because they're the ones that are actually presenting. So it's not the senators, it's not us, it's the people from Prosperity in Indiana who are actually working with the legislators to try to get this.
The senators are just going to be there hearing it too, and so then after
there'll
they
be
hear
about
it,
a 30,
we'll be able
45
to
minute.
Go back to them.
Yeah,
I've been to an advocacy day with Prosperity, and I know they do their homework, and they're on top of things.
Yeah, working with these lobbyists is definitely giving us the education.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, go down there. You're right. It is an educational experience, and
you're going in January,
teaches you how things work.
Okay.
And
answer me this.
To legislation day. So
I want to ask you guys, because again, we're talking. We don't have a rent escrow policy.
No,
like you said, 1 of 6. when you talk about evictions in our state, we're up in the inverse number. We're one of the top states.
That's
That's
why.
exactly why they
Eviction.
need this power back. Take your power back. This is the opportunity.
So yeah, why is that though? Why is that our state? What kind of? I mean,
Because
if
we-
I ask you that.
Well, we vote the people we vote in, and our.
the
I
most
mean, we had
conservative
we had 16% of voter engagement last year. I'm not even talking about this year's elections. Last year's election, 16% of registered voters in the city of Fort Wayne voted during the election. That is pathetic. We are allowing people to make our voice theirs. Because we don't research who we're voting for. We don't do the research. We don't know what they believe in. We don't know where they want money to go, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about allocations of money. We're talking about protections. We're talking about policies. We're talking about laws. We're talking about things that affect our daily lives.
So you just had me 16%. I got the people's advocate. Do you feel you're making some headway? What is it going to take to get people out there to bring that number up?
I mean, it's going to take a constant push in the education and advocacy of the candidates. You know, that is what my main thing with this election was, continuing to push out information about each local candidate as well as the presidential candidate that I was supporting. I don't know how many times I was phone banking, canvassing, text banking, or getting on social media, making videos, education videos about voting and politics, and then getting on the news. I spoke on the news, like continuing to push the message. And I would even take clips, little pictures of each candidate, and I would do blurbs about them, and I would just continue pushing it. And I mean, yeah, it got a lot of shares, it got a lot of likes, and a lot of traction, but it's like how to reach the mass majority. Like, what platform do we need to get on to just continue reaching the mass majority? Because the real issue is combating knowledge and education with social media trash
and laziness.
So much media crap gets twisted, and then they just don't choose to go out there and find the answers. They just run with whatever headline they see, instead of actually clicking on it and reading it fully to see what the information is behind it. So many things I had to debunk during this election. False news, false narratives that I kept pushing out there and debunking. And while I feel like I made a lot of headway and got a lot of support, it did not make enough, because I saw a lot of candidates that should have been in position, should have been elected, not get elected due to simply them not voting for local candidates, or straight ticket voting. Like, that is a huge misinterpretation as well. People voting straight ticket and not hitting all of the candidates like they should, which again, pushing the education to not straight ticket vote.
Yeah.
Or the other argument is to straight ticket vote, but know who you're doing. So I would argue that. So I'm a straight ticket voter arguer, especially because we don't even have the down vote right now. But what happened is we missed the county council.
Yeah, that's what
point.
it is. You missed the county council candidates.
Yeah.
And that's why I say that, because a lot of those people that I was supporting were county council candidates.
Gotcha. The one thing in your video that I appreciated is you spoke to the number one thing that young people will tell you. My vote don't count. It don't matter. And they don't. And you talked about, you voting, you broke down local politics, but the bigger thing that you broke down is, in you vote, they know what area people are voting from, and it's building up those numbers. So now you have a voice. Mm-hmm. And that's, how do you get through to young people to get them to vote, to be consistent?
Well, I am a president of a political caucus, and I try utilizing that as one route. But because that is a certain party with Democratic Party, sometimes I only use that for certain spaces that I'm in. If I know that this person is, on the side of, certain policies and certain ways of thinking and certain rights that they want to protect, then I'll pull them and talk to them about Young Dems, talk to them about how to get involved with Young Dems and how to be a part of that. But if they are if I'm not wanting to go a specific party and I want to be more nonpartisan, I also have that verbiage too, as far as just getting them involved, getting them to come to even just a meeting. I have a lot of nonpartisan groups that can't claim any party, and they come to meetings just for the simple fact of the education. And then on top of that, later, I'll have them come and speak about their, about their nonprofit or about their business or what they're a part of. Because at the end of the day, if we reach across the aisle and we're supporting them and pouring into them and giving them a platform to educate and get more people to be a part of their group, then my hope is that they'll take that opportunity to be a part of this group and then tell their friends, their family about the things that they learned in my meeting. And so, I've had Melissa come and educate on politics one-on-one. I've had, people come and teach canvassing. I've had people come in and teach voter registration, how to register people to vote. And that's nonpartisan, but just being out there, finding ways to be a part. Because one of the main reasons why people aren't voting and not learning about candidates, not learning about politics is because they don't know how to access it. They don't know who to go to. So I don't know how many messages I send to people or how many events I post to get people just involved in any sort of capacity, because I don't care. I mean, I care, but I'm not going to push you one way or the other. I want you to vote and have your voice matter, because the reason why we have these people in the spots that they're in and they're not fighting for us is because we're not utilizing our voice and fighting for ourselves. And if we could just fight for ourselves and put ourselves in position, we could get the right people in the spots to actually advocate for the things that we need. We sit up here and complain every day about this, that, and the third, and yet we're not putting anyone that actually needs to be there, that actually is going to be the voice for you, that's going to be a representation for you, that looks like you, in the spot.
All right. Hey, that's well said. And with that said, go ahead, give us the details about your guys' event on Monday. Where's it at? What's the time?
Before I do that, I was going to piggyback on an answer of how to get young people involved as well. I don't think people care. And I think that was reflected. And, you can go through this, that, the third. You can go through she was a woman, she was this, she was that. And for me personally, this is my own personal opinion. These are conversations I had. This, that, this. The country was never going to elect a woman, even if she was white, whatever. The bottom line is that people cared about themselves more than anything else. They cared about the inflation, the economy, the money, the whatever. The bottom line is people cared more about themselves than they cared about what was going to happen to us or to you, to the three of us sitting here, because we're in a marginalized group.
Knowing our rights were literally going to be taken away, knowing that our voices weren't going to have no impact, knowing that we were going to go back so many years that we, not even a lot, because let's be real about the timeline here of the fact that we just came from fighting to even be able to vote, to even be able to do this, to even be able to, and they just act like it didn't even matter because they're more worried about the effects that the election would have on groceries and gas, when you don't even really understand politics to know who actually makes that decision.
And where it came from in the first place.
And, we can touch on this because we said we were going to bring it up. Because of who we put in office, because of who we elected both locally and at a presidential level, we have policies and bills already being presented that go against even more marginalized people, not only women, not only Black folks. Now they're talking about criminalizing homelessness here in Indiana. You don't understand the effects that take place when you put certain people in office, and then there's layers on layers and layers of people that are affected and don't have a fighting chance. How are we supposed to be the people's advocate fighting for the people when we've got people in the position that are doing away with us altogether?
So the young people, in my opinion, it's education, and it's also getting them involved, being involved. My first time I ever worked on a campaign was Obama's primary. And I got to, shake his hand. I have a picture with Michelle. There's those things. And I took volleyball players when I was coaching at Harding. I could have got fired, but I took volleyball players in a van and we registered voters. But I still have volleyball players 10 years later. And these were high school kids. Coach, Thank you for doing that. I remember when we did that. It got me involved. It caused me to be engaged. So back to your question. Monday, 6 p.m. library. Be there. We want to pack the house. I believe it's 234 capacity. There's only 53 people registered, but I already know how Fort Wayne events go. Half of the people
will be registering you when you get there.
Yeah, we will register
in the auditorium of the downtown library.
In the theater. So all you got to do is come straight to the middle of the library in the hallway. Go take the elevators straight down, and there'll be refreshments. And it's only 6 to 7:30. I believe the talking portion is from about 6 to 6:50, and then there's going to be about 30 to 45 minutes of open discussion. There'll be other legislators there. A lot of them have been invited, but there'll be other people there as well. So I hope people come out and support and advocate for yourself. Mm-hmm. Everybody, I mean, even if you've never rented, you have a friend who has rented, who has a story that you could personally share that night, that they could personally share that night. We have
our own stories.
We have our. Like, I have my own story. I mean, I got heckled or my landlord. Mm-hmm. Screwed. Can I say screwed on here? Is out of $900. You know, when I was in my 20s, young, and these people can take advantage of younger people who aren't as educated of what can and cannot happen to you. So
I hope whoever is watching this, though, in whatever capacity you are in, I hope you come to the event, I hope you educate yourself, and I hope you network and be able to connect to people so that you can get yourself more involved. But also the people that are already involved, I hope they hear this and find ways to be able to connect with people too, because it is about getting people involved. I mean, that's my main thing, is constantly sending things out to young people, to tell them about an event, tell them who to talk to, get them involved so they can meet this person that's running for office or whatever. But so many people don't do that. A lot of people didn't do that for me. So I had to go and look for that. I had to go and find people to be able to get me in those spaces. And young people aren't always going to have that tenacity. I'm just that girl. I'm not going to, I'm going to speak up for myself. I'm going to put myself in the room. I'm going to find a way to get at the table. But not all young people are going to be able to do that. Some young people are insecure. They have lack of knowledge and they allow that to hold themselves back. So reach across and grab them. Like, they shouldn't have to come to you every time. If you're in position, you should go to them and you should provide a space for them. You should invite them to the table. You should sponsor them so they can be at the event. Mm-hmm. We ain't got it like that. And these events cost a lot of money. And so we want to be in the room. Allow us to be in the room by inviting us to be in the room.
Yeah. And you have to intentionally want people to be there. Like she said, I mean, we can't be gatekeepers, and there's a lot of that in multiple different areas in our community, and not just here, but just
the torch or
but
something.
Just in just all of our lives, our work. I mean, just come on, everybody deals with it. Like you said, there's people not ready to pass the torch. There's people, or they hold on to information or whatever, mm-hmm. It's ours, or they hit you over the head with it, or treat you like you're ignorant because you don't know where you are.
We hear you. Be out there, be active, be involved. We appreciate you guys. I mean, the spirit that you guys exude is great. I love seeing younger people in the fight. Continue doing what you're doing. We talk about housing and rent. One of the reasons they brought me on this evening, said, "Hey, we want you there," is because I've been screaming from the highest mountaintop. Something has to be done with home ownership. People can't afford these homes. Mm-hmm. Renters understand that people can't afford these homes. So they raising the rent. So mm-hmm. now not only are they raising rent, they're putting them in subpar conditions. Mm-hmm. So again, when you talk about rent escrow, these are things that are needed. Somebody, like you said, you need a repair, but you expect me to pay rent, but stuff's not getting fixed. Somebody has to be on the side of a renter. Somebody has to be an advocate, and on the other side,
or there at least has to be a protection.
Yeah, I was gonna say a protector of the renter and the landlord, and that's what these escrows. I mean, I've done some research on escrows. I'm from Fort Wayne Housing Authority as well. And that's the reason I ask. I know we were looking at Philadelphia and trying to do some things, have them model what they were doing in Philadelphia. for veterans. But yeah, give landlords some protections, but give renters some protections. So you guys' event, you say Monday, 11/18, 6 to 7:30 at the Allen County Public Library. Come down, support. Again, educate yourself, get a chance to talk with some of the movers and shakers that are a part of this policy. Hear from folks like this. How can you get involved? This is what's needed in our city. Right now there's going to be some changes that we're going to go through. We're either going to sit back and we're going to pout and we're going to bury our head in the sand, or we're going to do something about it. Period. Prepare yourself, take action, be ready. Thank you guys for coming on today. I enjoyed the discussion, and I hope, like they said, 234. That's not a lot. Let's pack the auditorium down at the library. Hope to see you guys out there. I'm JJ Foster, Fort Wayne Up Close, ONV. We'll see you next time.